well, this film will be perfect. The 101 aspect of what they did, what they covered up, from giants to technology. There's so many there's so many angles on why they burned every city in America.
See, that's something that we just brought up at the last bunker. And everyone I've talked to about that and watched that podcast goes, oh my God. And you have the bananas that go, that's because everything was made in wood. And, you get people that don't even want to think. But no, what was the purpose of that? Those weren't little fires. Those were massive, burn the city down to the ground fires. Do you have does it touch on that at all in this movie?
Yes. The Great Fires is definitely a part of the film. There's many aspects, like I said, but the Great Fires is one of the main ones. And
what do you think? Why do we have a why? Or theories of why?
It's controversial, the why.
Why is it controversial?
Meaning, I'm sorry, maybe not controversial, but to the government it'd be controversial, but to the public,
the government is a joke. So
I know. There's a few angles we could go with it. I look at it from the angle of kind of realistic in terms of research. You might want to put your sunglasses on real quick, but I'll just say DEW. We all have heard of that. I'll just leave it there. DEW, okay?
DEW.
Yes, the weapons, okay? The weapons.
Yes. Okay, like what's going on now in Hawaii and
exactly. That's been going on for a long time. It seems like they had the technology then. There's nothing new under the sun, like we always say. History repeats itself. It seems like something happened in the late 1700s, early 1800s. It seems like everything was wiped out. Something weird happened. Obviously, we're not being taught about it. And in my opinion, this country was founded by not good men. There's no Columbus story in the real approach here, guys. I mean,
I'm gonna have to agree with that. I'm not buying the whole Columbus discovered America and then we came here at the Pilgrims and blah blah blah. I'm starting to feel there was something definitely a little different going on, but
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if we're evil men and we find this land, whether via airship or sea, however they found it and it was already built. It was already built. Everything was built out. It was buried in mud, it seems like, or buried in something. It seems like it was all buried. And they dug up a lot of these buildings, and then they destroyed the ones they didn't want to use for themselves. Think about the government buildings. Think about your city hall building. Think about your state capitol building. Think about any.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Stop right there what you're saying, because I want people to think about what you're saying. I've always thought about when you walk into some of the government buildings, they're massive, huge. Absolutely massive inside. Old churches are massive inside. Are you saying, is your theory is people came here and all this was already here?
And that's my opinion, but I will show you some stuff in the film.
Okay.
To at least see that you can understand my opinion on that, because there's photos of.
Yeah.
I'll just pick on San Francisco. There's a photo in San Francisco, and it's weird because it's a panoramic. I thought that was new technology. No, panoramic, super crisp, high def shot from I think the 1860s, give or take 5 years there. But the 1860s, San Francisco's completely empty. Everything's built, but you don't see one human being in sight, and everything looks like it's like buried and like it just was left there. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they start having these world fairs, and people go, "Well, what's going on with the world fairs? Those are weird." And it's like, well, if you think about it, right? If we're evil people and we find all this land and we're like, this can be ours. Let's call it Freemasonry. Let's call ourselves. What at that point, right? Call themselves Freemasons. We found all this. And they don't lie, Jim. They put founded in 1898 half the time. They put it on there. It's just in one ear, out the other with people. But they did find it, in my opinion, and they destroyed the ones that go against their narrative and their Rockefeller history books. They got to destroy those, because if they kept everything, and now think about the World Fair, those were the biggest buildings in America at the time. Huge buildings that they tell us they threw those up in a couple years or less. I'm talking about massive size theme parks with full electricity, wireless electricity. Explain that. I mean, they had these, and what I think is that the World Fairs it was just an excuse. to say, hey, look, we're going to build a few shitty buildings around here. Like, we're going to build a few buildings with like clown faces and like amusement park style buildings. You could tell they look like crap. Okay, so that's modern day, architecture back in the 1800s. But all the other palaces, they said, oh yeah, we built those too. The reason they said we built it all now is so they can bring them all down. Those were the biggest cities in America. I think those were our ancient, the ancient downtown areas, the ancient, huge monument, just structures that they say it's made out of temporary material. But when you look, and you'll see this in the film, dude, that's stone and marble palaces. There's nothing temporary about it. But they had to make that excuse that we built all this for a fair. Everyone from outside the world, possibly outside of Antarctica, if you know what I mean. Who knows where these people came from? But there's hundreds of thousands of people coming to these fairs to trade technology or do whatever. I think they just found a bunch of technology in America and had auctions, burned it all down, made sure the rest of the cities were getting rebuilt, built back better. Nothing new under the sun.
Check out the Breuniverse every Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. If you can't wait till then, sign up for Patreon and get it 2 days early, along with other exclusive content.